Maya, have you had anyone live in your guest house without your knowledge?
No, because I don't have one.
Fair enough. Molly's come a long way from the start of season 1. Where do we find Molly at the start of season 2? Can you give us an idea of where she is?
Yeah, Molly at the start of season 2 is nursing her wounds a bit, but has really taken charge of her life. She's decided, yes, she's swearing off men, but for her that includes a wellness, a real growth at the Wells Foundation, and really stepping into the role of being boss, which I think is really invigorating for her. She's really starting a new life.
She's swearing off men because of an incident at the end of season 1.
Yeah, she slept with her ex-husband, let's be honest. I mean, that happens. You have the mess up after the breakup. I'm sure some of you have had that. No one, thank you. Thank you. And that happens, and then you realize, okay, that was pure emotion. This is not working for me. And so she really, but Molly takes it very seriously. What I love about Molly is she always dresses the part. So at the beginning of the season, we're seeing her in a lot of whites, a lot of creams, a lot of neutral palettes.
Her outfits are pretty wild throughout the show. Is that intentional, the costumes, in terms of what it says about her?
Yes, I think so. I mean, we have so much fun creating Molly and her look. And for me personally, it comes from growing up watching shows that I fell in love with the characters and I couldn't wait to see what they were wearing the next episode. Like that's a huge part of wanting to be an actress for me, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's so much fun. And I think it's also what the element of joy is when I watch the show, is that anything can happen, you know, so she really can wear anything. Sometimes she dresses literally. I think at one point she looks like a pilgrim. She's, you know, abstaining. And I love that about her. She really takes it seriously.
Oh, absolutely. Matt, you worked with Maya on Forever. What was it about working with her that you wanted to turn into a billionaire divorcee?
Well, you know, I think one thing we loved doing with Forever was Maya can absolutely play everything. She can be hilarious. She can also, you know, show you the emotion underneath the character. And when we conceived this idea of a billionaire's wife, it was like, wow, like it's a really fun character in a fun world, but you gotta like Molly, right? And there is one person we think who can do that, and it's Maya.
Wow. Yes.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
It's not my birthday. I'll take it. I'll take it.
Matt, the show has echoes of Mr. Bezos's ex-wife, Mackenzie.
I like when you said it, Bezos.
Still don't know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, I still don't know how to pronounce it.
David Bowie, I get it. Was that intentional? What do you think that says about us as a country in 2024?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we made the show. When we were sort of figuring out the idea, I was reading so much about billionaires, and some of them had been going through divorces, and that's where we kind of came up with the idea. But what was also so interesting to Alan and my co-creator and I, it felt like billionaires just have an outsized influence on our lives. I almost feel like they're like American royalty, right? Like they are our royalty. We look up to them and are challenged by them and are worried about them. So I think it's a really fun, particularly American kind of issue and a great world to explore.
Yeah. Did anyone at Apple bristle at the idea of you making a story about Amazon's founder?
No, not at all. I don't know if Amazon is watching or has drones here or anything, but we will. No, they've been incredible, and I think they understood the humanity of the story, and were also willing to give us the resources we need to sort of like open up a lens onto this world in a way that I think we really love doing and take a lot of pride in.
Yeah, I bet.
Also just like in so many things that I, particularly in the way that I like to tell comedy stories, it's not really, it's an amalgamation of people. It's not just one person. And so you just, you know, you pillage, you take from everything and you make a stew. And so it's our creation.
She's much more like Grimes than she is Mackenzie Bezos.
Yeah,
Much.
Grimes to Musk.
Yeah.
I can see that a little bit. But the outfit's probably the most, right? Yeah. Joel, Nicholas has, he sort of comes out of his shell in season 2. You find out a little bit more about him. In the first season, he's very snarky. Season 2, he seems to divulge a little bit more about his life and so forth. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, I think they did such a great job in season 1 of creating this really fun character that was certainly not a stretch for me by any means to be a mean gay guy.
That's the original name for the character, right? Mean gay guy?
But no, it was really nice in season 2 that they gave me the opportunity to sort of peel back some of those layers and see why he might be the way he is and why he has those walls up and why he uses, I think, some of that snarkiness as a defense mechanism against, obviously he grew up in a very specific environment, and I think we get a peek into that, and it's nice to humanize him a little bit and ground him a little bit more so that it's not just, because let me tell you, I get called in to be a gay assistant constantly. It's the only role Hollywood wants to see me play, and I'm so grateful that I get to do it in a way that feels like a real three-dimensional human being and not just a caricature. So.
Yeah.
You wear it well, honey. You wear it well.
He's slightly more than just an assistant, right? He has a slightly complicated or complex relationship with Molly. Part assistant, part bartender, part, he's sort of emotional support buddy.
Part mommy.
Yeah. Definitely like a pet.
Part baby.
Part baby, part mommy. Yeah. I reached out to Mackenzie Bezos's gay assistant, and we had to sit down, and I really got to dig in deep with what that dynamic was.
It's a buddy comedy, really, between the two of them, right?
It is. This season, I feel like we are leaning into it heavily, and it's making me so happy. And we've talked about their dynamic. They don't role play, but they do. They switch roles all the time, and so sometimes they're both the mom. Sometimes one of them's the mom, one's the baby. Sometimes they're both the dad. It's a love. It's a true love.
Sometimes they're both drunk aunts.
Neither of them should be driving.
No, most assistants would get fired for some of the stuff that Nicholas says and does, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think the fight in the episode that just aired in season 3 too, it's like moments like those that make the relationship so much more fun in season 2, I think, is like seeing the tension too. Like I think the back and forth, the okay back and forth, I think there were takes that lasted like 11 minutes of just us saying okay back and forth at each other, like an acting exercise. And the moments like that, I think we really treasured in season 2.
I feel like any great comedy relationship, it's two people who love each other in a deeply, deeply unhealthy way.
Because Molly needs Nicholas, right? She's not very good on her own.
No, and she has to prove that to herself. But Nicholas is her family, and I think what I love playing about Molly is her natural desire for family. She creates her own family. When her own family fails her, when her divorce happens and she loses her husband, and she realizes she's put all this time and energy into someone else's life, she really recognizes what's important for her and who she loves and who loves her and who's always there for her. So I love that you get to understand Molly through her relationship with Nicholas, and it's also like the fun stuff, that we get to play. Because you gotta pull me back all the time. I love the big stuff, but it is important to play all of the emotion and the nuances, and that's why I like getting to know Molly through her building the relationships this season with all of the characters at the Wells Foundation.
The other person that she sees a lot is David Chang, who appears to live in her kitchen. Matt, have you got something against David Chang? There's a lot of anti-David Chang in this.
There's a lot of David Chang, and Alan, my co-creator, is friends with David Chang, and when we were thinking of wow, what would a billionaire be able to do that a millionaire couldn't do? We were basically hold David Chang, one of the most successful chefs in America, in some sort of indentured service period. It's not totally clear what's going on. And he is incredible and shows up whenever we ask him. And I think Maya was talking about this, I love those details of her world, right? Anytime we can get specific and really see how deeply, deeply wealthy she is, it's really fun.
And just hanging out with Tony Hawk, not really skateboarding.
No, not really skateboarding. She doesn't do that, but she likes to pretend that she does. Yeah, I think it's part of her getting well. And like I said, you know, there's something about one of the most exciting things about this show, and when Matt and Alan brought it to me, was this. I've noticed in my career that a lot of the things I've gone to have a magical quality. And the thing about Molly being a billionaire is there is a magical element. Every once in a while, if she's gonna work out, she's gonna work out with Tony Hawk. You know, and it's the things that we don't do and that we don't normally see that spark this excitement in the same way that, like, when I was a kid in the 80s, I used to like watching Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. You know, you want to see the inside of people's homes and go, what is that? Like, you've never seen a bed in that shape before, or that kind of a slide going into a pool, but it's fun.
I won't spoil the ending, hasn't aired, but the finale is titled "We Shouldn't Exist," which is a pretty good phrase for billionaires in 2024, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think like what Matt was saying earlier about how billionaires have like a really outsized influence on politics and the way our country is moving, and I think that's why the strikes that we saw last year were so powerful, and the labor movement sort of happening across industries right now. Because listen, like, voting is important, obviously, yes, go vote, but like really, I think really bringing the fight head on to the people that are actually pulling the strings right now is the way we're really going to see change in this country.
Yep.
Matt, where would Molly and Nicholas be if you get picked up for a season 4?
You know, one thing we've been talking about is like billionaires are always traveling, right? Like I feel like they're always on their jet going somewhere, and we're like, let's put Molly and Nicholas all throughout the world and start to explore what, and I think that is, again, like, and we can start talk about issues they're facing in the world, but also just we could all take a trip to Hawaii and shoot an episode there. Yeah, and just sort of like expand the world and see what other fun we can have.
I think along the lines of what you were saying before is there is the thing about this show that grounds it for me is that there is the philanthropic aspect of the show, and there is a conversation that is always created. I love the space for everyone idea that was brought up this season. I love that it's something that we're talking about, the idea of doing something in your own city, taking existing buildings and creating housing for the unhoused is a wonderful conversation to have. And I feel like it's nice to balance that. And I feel like the show is constantly doing that. And sometimes we've even seen it reflected. We've heard stories about billionaires giving away their money, and I kind of went like, holy shit, did they watch the show? You know, maybe somebody with a lot of money watches the show and says, I'm gonna buy all the hotels in downtown Los Angeles and put unhoused people there. That would be nice.
Yeah. To paraphrase Mrs. Dalloway, it's very like, I'll buy the fucking flowers myself, you know? Like, just, you don't have to wait around for other people to make change. You can do it if you have the power.
Well, look, on that note, I think that's a great way to end this. So please thank Maya, Joel, and Matt. Next up, I'd like to introduce my